behold the voice of God.
For those of you who don't know me officially, my name is Amanda Waller.
And I am Aaron Moss, your host of Task Force X.
What, we some kind of suicide squad?
Well, yeah, that and
Checkmate.
Task Force X is a podcast that tells the stories of John Ostrander's Suicide Squad and Paul Kupperberg's Checkmate from the late 80s, early 90s.
I want to build a team of some bad people who can do some good.
And that's what Suicide Squad is. While Checkmate is a team of good people doing some good. My mission here is to chronicle each and every title in all the books that Suicide Squad and Checkmate appeared in during that era.
We're the U.S. government. You're going to start a blog and expose us?
Well, a blog and a headcast, Amanda.
Those scumbags are trying to screw me.
Not at all, Amanda. Just trying to help everyone else discover the joy of the Suicide Squad and Checkmate. Anywho, hope you guys have as much fun with these comics as I did when I first read them, so many years ago.
Mother...
That's enough of that, Amanda. Let's go and start the show.
I didn't believe the stories.
Nobody does. Remember, I'm watching. I see everything.
And welcome back to Task Force X, episode 32. This month, we're going to cover Checkmate number 10 and Suicide Squad number 21. And as usual, we're going to start off with Checkmate. This time, as I just said, we're going to be looking at issue number 10. The cover date was winter of 1988, but the actual on-sale date was September the 13th of 1988. The cover price is $1.25. September the 13th, 1988. That was the year I started college at Merced Junior College. The title of this was Funny Money, Part 2. Written by Paul Kupperberg, penciled by John Stedema? Sorry if I'm messing that up, John. Inker was Alvey, letter was Helen Vesek, colorist Juliana Freder, and editor Jonathan Pearson. And the synopsis, once again, this comes from Mike's Amazing World of Comics, because I get a bit lazy, and, well, Mike does a great job. Claymore, a member of the Game of Counterfeiters, has tracked a Checkmate Knight back to Koenig Industries. To gather more information, Claymore kidnaps Pawn Renee Rockwell when she is leaving the facility. He tortures and kills her for information. Claymore then leads a strike against Checkmate headquarters. He holds Harvey Bullock at gunpoint and demands that the masked man be brought out. Gary Washington fights him and rescues Bullock. Meanwhile, Knight Roger Dayton has infiltrated the gang of counterfeiters. He's able to recover stolen printing plates, take possession of the counterfeit currency, and capture the gang. Now, as usual, my thoughts on this issue. As I always do, we will start with the cover. The cover we see... what's his name? My mind's blanking out. Claymore, holding a rifle up to someone's head. Behind him is a shattered wall. In front of him, we see a couple of four guys with guns pointed at him. In behind him comes leaping a knight. I've said this before. In fact, probably almost every episode. I'll say it again. I love the armor design of these knights. Whoever was that finally did this, it was a great choice. It's fantastic work. I love this. On this, like I say, we have the knight jumping in, about ready to grab onto Claymore. My only problem, issue with this issue is the way that Claymore's holding that gun. He's got a guy by the neck. Oh, maybe it's supposed to be Harry. Maybe it's supposed to be Harvey. I think in the comic it's Harvey. Don't quite look like Harvey here, but in his hand he's holding his rifle, and he's holding it. You have to see the cover. If I don't forget, I'll post this on the website at taskforcex.headspeaks.com. But the way he's holding the gun, to me, it looks like if he was to fire it, it may blow his hand off or fly out of his hand. I don't know. I'm not a weapons guy. If any of my listeners out there are into weapons and are familiar with weapons, let me know. Could he conceivably hold the gun that way and use it properly? Properly in quotes. Other than that, again, it's a great cover. I mean, I can't really complain about it. I enjoy this cover. Speaking of this cover, I forgot to notate earlier that the cover artist, once again, Gil Kane. Great job, Gil. Again, except for maybe that minor quibble with the gun, but listeners out there, take a look at this issue. Is that possible? Moving on to the story. I covered all this synopsis, briefly covering it here. Again, we got this hot chick leaving Koning Industries in her... again, I'm not a car guy. I know what cars I like. I like this car. It's convertible. I like convertibles. And I like how she notices it, again, she's a pawn. Literally. But, again, she kind of may look like a ditzy female. No offense to my female listeners out there, but she does notice that she's picked up a tail. And again, she pieces out pretty quickly that either A, it's someone looking for an opportunity to take advantage of this beautiful young lady, or it's someone that's checking out Checkmate. And I like her comments here. She says basically the same thing I just said. They must have picked me up when I left Koning, which means either they know about Checkmate, or it's just a coincidence. Maybe some pervert who picked me at random. Talk about lousy choices. And again, she heads off to try to get into a secluded area, pulls out her gun, shoots her car, which causes them to crash. And most people would have taken him out. But as we saw last issue, Claymore is a pretty tough character. He crashes his car into a tree, opens his door and throws a grenade out that knocks the young lady out. And then we cut to where she's tied up in a abandoned building somewhere. And Claymore with this destroyed jacket telling her, wake up, I know you're faking. You've been awake for a while. And they have a little talk. And as I said before, and I'll say it again, not just because I've had him on the show, but Paul Kupperberg does a fantastic job with the dialogue here. Again, they're having this little talk back and forth. He's like, all you gotta worry about is telling me the truth when I ask you my questions, or else I'll make you hurt real bad. Make you wish you were dead. You work in that coating place where the masked man went. I want him. You're gonna tell me how I can get him. Masked man, I don't know what you're... I meant what I said, girly, as he whaps her upside the head. Let's try it again, the masked man. And she's just, again, this is a Checkmate operator. And she may just be a pawn, but Checkmate doesn't pick people willy-nilly. They pick people that have guts, that can handle their own. And she's all, drop dead, dirtbag. Lady, if anybody's gonna die, it's gonna be you. And he slaps her so hard and knocks the chair she's in over on the floor. Pretty soon you'll be begging for it. And then we cut away to our knight, who's again infiltrating the counterfeiting ring. I mean, not much to say here. I mean, I am enjoying... Paul's doing a great job with the writing on this. John... I'm not even going to try to pronounce his last name again. John's doing a great job with the penciling. Alvey does a great job with inks. Again, there's not much to say about here. The night they bust in, again, they have the Checkmate pawns or knights, or they aren't knights or pawns or FBI guys, whoever they are, busting in to keep his roll up. Roger, he begins firing back at the FBI guys that comes busting in the room, and he's like telling the other guy, come on, you waiting for an engraved invitation or something? As they come running out, we see that Roger was shooting the agents with blanks. And all right, let's get to small talk and move out. Standard operating procedures, no traces were ever here. So again, I like the fact that Checkmate, they go for these long cons, and the knights, they put themselves in these deadly situations. And again, it's just, Paul does a great job in the writing on this. The art is more of a realistic. Like I say, I like the 4-color superheroes for the most part. Justice League, Superman, Batman. The whole 4-color, that dynamic looking superheroes. But then other titles have their own look. And I like that DC had these different looks. I mean, Suicide Squad, as I talk about, and I'll talk about later, has a darker, more gritty look. And for Suicide Squad, that's fitting because it's a darker, grittier book, if you will. Checkmate, it's in the same vein as Suicide Squad. It is a darker, more, again, realistic book. And it is a little darker than your average superhero. But the characters in here look a little more realistic, I'm going to say. I know I've said before I hate using the word realistic when dealing with comics, but the characters are drawn in here in a very realistic manner. I mean, yes, they're comic book characters, but again, I love the artwork on this book. It's very fitting for the style. The next thing I talk about is we get back to Claymore, and he's standing there with his gun in his hand, just somewhere else in the city. Who's there? Burton. Burton who? This ain't no damn joke. Open up. Things are starting to heat up. We need you now. He's all, forget you, pal. I got other things to take care of. Like a squirt some costume freak. And I like the fact that we'll find out more a bit later. But he doesn't realize that the Checkmate Knights, there's a bunch of them. He thinks this is like Batman or Wildcat or the Atom. Just someone wearing a costume, one person that's this knight, this costume person he fights. He doesn't realize that there's a whole string of them, which is going to come to play later on. And again, Burton, tells him that we need you to come along. And Claymore's, and again, whenever I do his voice, I do a very dopey, very, hello, George, type of voice. And because that's kind of how Claymore comes across to me. Burton tells him that we need you, and he's like, he's got a one-track mind. All he's concerned about now is taking out the knight that busted up his operation, that made a fool of him. And again, Burton tells him, you have to come with us, we've paid you. And Claymore pulls his money out and throws it back at him. Here's a refund. Now get out of here. And Burton pulls his gun on Claymore, and he's like, you psychotic Hulk. You're nothing more than a loose cannon, or a loose end that we can't afford. Burton, you should have left when you had the chance. As he pulls his gun out quicker and shoots Burton. It doesn't pay to mess with the psychotics. And again, I love the dialogue that Kupperberg does in this book. Burton calls him a psychopath, so Claymore shoots him and says, hey, you shouldn't mess with a psychopath, man. And then we get back to Koning Industries, where Harry and Harvey and them were talking about, apparently they found Renee's body, they found her car, and they kind of pieced together that apparently she was kidnapped, or taken, beaten severely, and so they're kind of afraid that she may have talked, even though, again, as I said earlier, the pawns they have aren't pushovers. As much torture she endured, apparently they're afraid she may have talked, so now they got to figure out what they're going to do about their security. And then we get a little more of our knight, Roger, continuing to infiltrate the counterfeiting ring. Again, not much to say about that, but I'm going to comment here on page 11, page 12. We see our buddy Claymore. He's in a helicopter and he's having his guys attack Koning Industries as he pulls his gun out and he just starts laying waste to the building. And I like here on the bottom of page 12 where he's firing at the building. And again, it's kind of a mass of images here. We see part of the building exploding. We see people flying around. And here at the bottom of page 12, maybe it's the way I'm looking at it. We see one of these guys being cut in half like a hose or something like that. It's just a really great scene. You see people slumped over their counsel. Looks like he's probably dead. It's just a great art scene here of destruction and people dying. And again, we see Claymore jumping out of the helicopter. And again, he's like, get lost, pal. You're finished here. And as soon as Claymore jumps out, the Checkmate finally pulls their big gun out. And they blow the helicopter out of the sky. But again, Claymore, he just starts blasting into the building. Where is he? Send up the masked man now. And Bullock and some of the other guards rushed down there. And again, Claymore's just rushing the building, shooting everybody. "You're wasting your time's full. I'll rip this place apart. I'll find my man." And Bullock comes behind him. He ain't seen me. He can't be bulletproof. As he shoots at Claymore. It looks like he hits the ground in front of, or behind Claymore's feet. I think Bullock needs to go back and do some more practicing at the rifle range. And again, Bullock's not a field agent. Again, he's an ex-cop from Gotham. He used to be in Batman. So maybe he's not used to shoot to killing. But again, as we saw last issue, Claymore can take some abuse. Again, Claymore just turned around. He's like, "You shooting me, pal?" And he shoots at Harvey and hits him in the leg. "Up, fat boy. I need a guide, and you're it." And then here at the bottom of page 14, 15, we see our buddy Roger walking out with one of the counterfeiters. They drive off. And Roger's like, "Son, it helped you. When am I getting my payoff?" And the counterfeiter guy pulls a gun out. "I've got it right here." And again, a checkmate night. Roger's quick on his feet. He swerves into traffic, uses his elbow, and knocks the counterfeiter out. And here at the bottom of the page, I think it's 14, again, we see Roger suited up in his night costume. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I love the way these night costumes look. So he sneaks in his night costume into the counterfeiter's trailer. Again, it looks like they're trailers they're using. Knocks out someone that has to go to the bathroom. And again, he throws a grenade out and starts blasting at these counterfeiters. Slides around. And again, I'm telling you, Checkmate, DC needs to do a Checkmate movie. Or a TV series. That'd be good too. These costumes, I think, would look good on screen. These guys telescoping staffs. He uses a pole vault around, blasting. This is being awesome. I mean, if you enjoy Mission Impossible or any of these other shoot 'em up movies, I swear Checkmate would be a great movie, or again a TV series. DC. The WB's got a bunch of, or actually I guess it's CW now. The CW's got a bunch of DC shows already. I don't know how they would do with Checkmate. Again, it's not a pretty boy, teeny bopper show, which is mostly what CW does, but someone needs to do a Checkmate series. I think that'd be great. And then again, we kind of lose the page count again, but we get back to Coding Industries where we see Claymore. Again, and as I said earlier on the cover, he's got Harvey held captive. And here he's holding the gun more properly, I think. He has better control over it than he does on the cover. But he's like, bring out the... What does he say? We cut him mid-sentence. He's like, or I'll blow this fat turd's brains all over the wall. I'm through talking. Bring me the masked man or fat boy dies. And again, as they're talking, they're like, where is that at here? Okay, at the bottom of this page. Bring who, sir? Which night is he talking about? And Harry's like, what difference does it make? One guy's mask as good as another to this loon. Just go. Again, as I was talking about earlier, Claymore doesn't realize that the Knights are a bunch of different guys and women in suits. He thinks it's just an average superhero, one guy in a costume. So again, I believe it was Roger, our counterfeiter guy that's fought him earlier, which is a white guy. Again, this agent doesn't know. So they bring in, I think his name's Gary Washington, the Black Knight. They dress him up and have him come out and fight him. While that's going on, we cut back to Roger fighting through all the counterfeiters. And again, I love this panel here. Again, the pages aren't numbered. I've lost track. It's right after one of the guys goes off to find another knight to fight Claymore. The knight's surrounded by goons. He throws looks like a disc almost, or a piece of metal rectangle It explodes, and then here, this middle of the panel, it's just like all hell's breaking loose. We see people shooting, money flying all over, a car breaking through a wall probably. Okay, yeah, the car, and again, it's just a massive chaos going on. And the van breaking through the wall is our Checkmate pawns, the FBI guys, whoever they are, busting in. And again, something I forgot to mention earlier, zoom right by it this time, when our knight was infiltrating the counterfeiters, some of the pawns were listening to him on a headset. And the first time I read this, again, I forgot to mention it this time through, they were wondering, the pawns were listening to him talk, and I was wondering how he got the communicator in so people could hear him. Because again, it seems like these counterfeiters know what they're doing. It seems like they would have frisked him. Apparently, he swallowed the communicator, and so they're listening to him. It's a Checkmate communicator. It's really good. They can still hear him even though it's in his body. And so the Checkmate knight's like, "You guys are early." He's like, "We were monitoring the action over your intestinal bug. Sound like you use some help. Not to mention a bromo." In fact, I'm going to jump back to the beginning of the story here. Again, I overlooked this page earlier because, again, it's part of the pawns listening in on Roger dealing with the counterfeiters. And let me see here. Because, again, I was wondering, well, how did... these are stupid counterfeiters. They didn't frisk the guy. Apparently they might have because, again, the pawns are talking. And one of them's like, "Yep, the buggy he's carrying is coming loud and clear. I'm patching the audio through to rook control. Don't alert the rest of the team to stand by." Another guy's like, "I know it's dangerous for the knights to carry any kind of conventional bug, but swallowing the thing? Yuck." The reason I went back to this page, he's like, and this was right before Claymore shows up in a helicopter to attack Cunning Industries. The other pawn's like, "Well, I just want to be on monitor duty when he disposes of it." Because again, apparently he swallowed the communicator, and it's going to come out the other end at some point. Again, I love that aspect. As I said, I was wondering how he got the bug into it. Was able to bug him. That's how he swallowed the damn thing. And again, here at the end of this fight, again, these pages aren't numbered. I hate when the pages aren't numbered. Looks like maybe page 19 or so. They've busted up the counterfeiting ring. They've got the plates, the funny money. And the knight's thinking to himself, "A job well done, if I do say so myself. Wouldn't have been half as easy if they had had that trained gorilla I went up against last time on hand. Wonder what happened to him." Speaking of which, we cut over and we see the trained gorilla, in quotes, beating on a Checkmate knight, which he thinks is Roger, who's actually Gary Washington. Because again, if that knight, the costume, unless you get a good peek hole through that mask, you don't know who you're fighting. And again, we get a page or so of here, a fight between Nighty Knight and Claymore. And again, Claymore is just, I love Claymore. I don't think we see more of him after this issue. But he gets knocked down. He's like, "You're good, masked man, but that's not going to stop me from killing you." And he comes running up and he just socks him. And again, a little more fight. And Claymore, again, he's a big gorilla. He doesn't know, he's getting the crap beat out of him. And like the knight's like, "Your history, pal. I'm sending you down." And Bullock comes up behind him. "Excuse me. This is for all the fat boy cracks, you stupid ape." And just socks him. And Gary's like, looks to me like his brain's too dim to get the message that his body's finished. And all of a sudden, Claymore falls to the ground. Message received. They high five, congratulate each other. And Gary takes his mask off, and we see who it is. It's Gary Washington. He takes, he's got a black guy sitting here. And I like this as he takes his mask off. He's talking to Harry and Bullock. And Gary's like, "Anyway, next time you need somebody to take out Godzilla, just remember, I've already done my bit, okay, partner? Well, keep that in mind, Mr. Washington, and thanks for stepping in. As they take Harvey off to get the bullet out of his leg, Harry's like, by the way, Harvey, you did all right back there yourself. And Harvey's like, hey, Harry, what do you think of the chances of me getting fitted for a night uniform? And Harry's like, picture a snowball in hell, my friend. The flames arise. And then we get our next month, Checkmate invades London. It invades in big, bold, red letters. And I'm pretty sure this is the invasion issue. If so, I'm pretty sure it is. But invasion, again, it just touched here briefly, so I didn't cover it. But over on my Starman Manhunter Adventure Hour podcast, again, they were a little more involved. I briefly covered the 3 issues of the series. I covered the Manhunter and the Starman issues that were involved. I covered the Flash issues that were involved. Not much more. If you want more detailed information on the invasion, check out friends of the show, Siskoid and Boss. They have a, First Strike, the Invasion podcast, where they're covering each issue that ties into the series. They cover the series. I'm listening to it. It's a great show. I'm talking about another show at this point, so that means I'm done with this issue. I've got to say, Paul, you're doing a great job. You're doing a great job. You did a great job in this series. I love it. That's why I'm talking about it. The art's always fantastic on it, for the most part. But overall, I'm loving it. So again, give me just a minute. I'm going to play some promos. You'll probably hear something about invasion. And then we'll be right back with Suicide Squad.
We'll be back with much more fun. Now don't you change that channel, son.
Stop and listen! Stop and listen to me! Listen! Listen! Listen to me! They're not human! Everyone! They're here already! You're next!
November 4th, 1988. Earth is invaded by an alien alliance composed of several species, including the Dominators, the Kuns, the Tanagarians, and the Durlans. And they want our superheroes. Even though Australia has been decimated, the United Nations response is unequivocal. Drop dead. First Strike, the Invasion podcast, takes you back to that moment in time and covers the entire Invasion DC Comics crossover, issue by issue, tie-in by tie-in. Join Bass and Siskoid at fireandwaterpodcast.com or on iTunes. First Strike, the Invasion podcast, a proud member of the Fire and Water Podcast Network. Remember Melbourne.
Recently overheard on the Who's Who podcast being said by the irredeemable Shag.
For me, because, she's a crazy hot, raging woman, and now I can't not see that. But if you want more on her, check out the From Crisis to Crisis podcast, and also someone, for the love of God, start a Will Payton blog, please. Just saying.
All right, Shag, you don't have to beg. That could be nice. Anyways, here you go, Shag, just for you. Monthly, the Starman Adventure Hour. Wait a minute. I like Starman and all, but I don't know if I can talk for an entire hour about Will Payton. I know. I'll include another great 80s character I love, Mark Shaw, Manhunter. The Starman Manhunter Adventure Hour. Available monthly on iTunes and at starman-manhunter.headspeaks.com. Also part of the Headcast Network. Come, join the fun.
She's seen all the classics. She knows every line. Breakfast Club, Pretty in Pink.
Beginning in 2018, the Who's Who podcast enters the 1990s with our coverage of the loose leaf editions.
Featuring Superman by Jerry Ordway,
The Joker by Brian Bolland,
Wonder Woman by George Perez,
Sandman by Mike Dringenberg,
Batman by Norm Brayfogle,
The JLI by Adam Hughes,
Eclipso by Bart Sears,
The Legion of Superheroes by Keith Giffen,
Dark Stars by Travis Charest,
Lobo by Simon Bisley,
Kent Shakespeare by Chris Sprouse? Who is that?
Doomsday by Tom Grummett.
Wait, are we covering these by issue or in alphabetical order?
The Justice Society of America by Mike Parobeck.
The Forever People again? You are f***ing kidding me.
Doom Patrol by Richard Case.
I'm so confused.
And many more. The Who's Who podcast, going boldly into the 90s.
A proud member of the Fire and Water Podcast Network, I guess.
We are green from head to toe. Now we go back to the show.
Go ahead and check them out. They're great shows, one and all. But now on to Suicide Squad 21. The cover date on this was just 1988. No month, just 1988 in general. But the actual on sale date was October the 4th of 1988. The cover price was $1. The editor on this was Robert Greenberger. The title of this story was called Rogues. I said this story because this issue has two different stories in this. It contains what's called bonus book number 10. And we'll get to that in just a little bit here. But for now, for the story of Rogues, which is the main story, this was written, as usual, by our wonderful John Ostrander, penciled by the fabulous Luke McDonnell, inked by Carl Kiesel, letterer was Todd Klein, colorist Carl Gafford, and the cover credits was done by, of course, Luke McDonnell and Carl Kiesel. The synopsis on this one, which again I pulled from Mike's Amazing World of Comics. Thanks, Mike. Amanda Waller meets Tolliver. This is my own personal notes on here. You guys remember Tolliver, don't you? He's the guy that's been blackmailing Amanda for the last couple of issues. She blackmails him into ending his threats to expose the Suicide Squad. She then returns to Belle Reve, where June Moon shoots Eve Eden. Eve survives, but just before she enters surgery, she tells Waller that Rick Flag has left on a personal mission. The mission takes Flag to Washington, where he confronts and murders Tolliver. Dun dun dun! And then, as usual, we'll go into my thoughts on this. We'll start where we always start, with the cover. The cover of this, we show Nightshade in her newer costume, the black bodysuit with the purple arm and leggings, the black fingerless gloves. And she's in the background. In the foreground, we see a hand holding a gun. And there's a light at the end of the gun like someone's shooting her, oddly enough. We don't see the bullet. She's not hit yet, but she's leaning back like she's about ready to be hit. At the top, it says Suicide Squad and has the title Rogues. I'd mentioned there's a bonus book. On this cover I'm looking at, there's no indication that there's a bonus book in this issue. I've got to pull mine out and see if I have this issue still and if it actually has it on the actual issue. I'm looking at a digital scan. But again, it's a nice cover. It's one, when I think about Suicide Squad, I do remember this one. I really like it, maybe because Nightshade's hot. But from here, we can tell what's going to happen inside the issue. Nightshade's going to get shot. We have no clue at this point who's pulling the trigger just from the cover. I do like in the background, we have like a light blue background. And on the right-hand side of the page, behind the shooter's hand, we see the prison bars to let you know where this takes place in Belle Reve. Or some sort of prison, but since we deal with Belle Reve all the time, you know where it's at. It's a very nice cover. I really like this one. Moving on to the story itself. The first page, it's a splash page. Got the title on the top, Rogues. We see the Capitol building in the background. In the front, we see a handful of people. There's 2, 4, 7 people in front. Just a couple guys leaning against the fence. An older lady off to the side. 2, 3 guys just walking along, looking around. In the background, we see a couple guys, maybe a security guard. Back by the Capitol building, we have a handful of people just standing around. You can't make them out, they're just black figures. But again, there's nothing going on this page. It just gives us, where we're at. Washington, D.C. In case you couldn't tell from the Capitol building. Monday, November the 7th, 1988, 10 o'clock a.m. Eastern Time. And again, it kind of sets it in a place in history. It actually dates it personally, I like when those stories take, it gives you dates and you have time frames. But overall, I say there's nothing impressive about this page. But having said that, I really do like the way that Luke McDonnell and the colorist Carl Gafford designed this page. I don't know how much of this was John saying what they wanted on it, or if it was just John saying, hey, let's put the Kappa building, some people in front, do it. And Luke did a fantastic job. Then we go into the story where we see Amanda meeting with Tolliver. And, Tolliver's coming down. He's like, you've been dragging your feet. The president, wants you to help get Senator Cray reelected. Someone might think you don't want to do that. Amanda's just like, we've been busy. Too busy. Tomorrow's election day. The only way Cray's going to get elected now is if someone kills his opponents. And then this top of page 3, it looks like. Yeah, page 3, we get a close-up of Amanda's face from like her nose up to her forehead. And the right side is covered in shadows. We just see the left side of her eye, and she's like, those the president's orders? Oh, no, he doesn't know about that. He doesn't want to know about it. But here in black and white, Amanda, you are following my orders exactly. And again, throughout these pages, Tolliver's got this smug look on his face. It makes you just want to slap him beside his head. I really like the way that both McDonnell and Gafford drew and colored these pages here. It's just fantastic. Again, you get the look of smugness on his face, like his crap don't stink. And then all of a sudden here on page 4, Amanda Waller just flops a folder on his desk. And he's like, what's this? Open it. You'll recognize it. You see a silent panel of Amanda watching Tolliver as he reads the file. And he's like, oh my God, where'd you get this information? And then we get him here at the bottom of page 4. Amanda Waller pulling her smug look out. Doesn't matter. I got it. You know what this means, don't you? You've been checkmated. And again, that's funny because, again, it's just, he's been checkmated in the little game of chess, and Checkmate is the other organization that Amanda's tied to that she used to get this information, as we find out. A bit later on, I believe she mentions it. And then again, here at top of page 5, we're outside the window looking in. Again, Amanda, there's some mug look just sitting there, and Tolliver's got his hand over his mouth like, oh my God, I am really screwed. And we come back and say, what did I tell Cray? Cray's your problem. If he talks about us, it's the same as you talking about us. The results for you will be the same. He's like, maybe I should say the hell with you and go ahead and with the press release. You could, if you want to pay the price. I figure price on this is 20 years hard time and your life ruined. You want to pay that price? Derek? No Tolliver, no, just straight to his first name. Like, you know what, punk? Again, and that's why I love Amanda Waller. I mean, the one they had running around for a while, the skinny, hot Amanda Waller, she could do this, but I don't think it would be the same as this older, heavyweight woman just standing there, just, getting in his face. She thinks she's a pushover. And she's, you know what? I don't think so. If I said that, I wasn't even reading the book. I turned the page. We get a page of Amanda staring at Tolliver sitting behind his desk, and she walks away. Didn't think so. Tolliver's like, what if I killed you, Waller? And she stops. Try it, Derek. Please try it. As she walks out, just leaving him in defeat. Because again, she's Amanda Waller. She deals with hardened criminals all the time. This bureaucrat threatened her to kill her. She calls that Monday. I love the writing. Between the art and the writing, I tell you guys, this is a fantastic book. I enjoy Checkmate, but actually, as I think I've said before, Suicide Squad is the one that's my jam. I love this book. I think, again, both John Ostrander and Luke McDonnell did fantastic job on the writing, on the artwork. It really works. I love it. But enough waxing their car for now. We move on to the next section where we're back at Belle Reve, Louisiana. Almost couldn't say that. 12:18 p.m. CST. I love the way they date and time these, and it just gives you a sense of continuity and when this takes place. Where we see Rick Flag sitting there cleaning his gun. He's just got a look on his face like he ain't creating crap for nobody. Then Eve even comes in, aka Nightshade, and she begins talking about how since Dr. Grace, that's aka Karen Grace, who died a couple issues ago during the Manhunter story. Actually, it's been quite a while ago during the Manhunter storyline that she's noticed that Rick's becoming more withdrawn and it's starting to bother her. And again, Rick's just... and again, you can't really tell because it's just written, but from the way she talks and the way I can imagine, he's just sitting there looking down at his gun. He's like, we had mission failures because I wasn't strong enough. I've just been weeding out my weaknesses. And to me, it's like he's becoming more robotic, in quotes, if you will. Like he's trying to make himself more infallible. But again, he hasn't really talked to anyone like he should about losing the love of his life, Karen Grace. And we can tell it's affected him. And again, apparently he has talked to him because when Nightshade, and again, here on the top of page 8, Nightshade's down there talking to him. She's looking hot. But that's beside the point. Thanks, Shag. Now, he's sitting looking at his gun. He looks up at her. Is that what Dr. LeGrieve told you? And he's like, LeGrieve won't tell me anything. So I broke into his files one night. I read your personal history. I read LeGrieve's evaluation. He's very upset you stopped your therapy, by the way. Very hurt. And again, they talk a little bit about Rick's father, Rick Flag Sr., who was, again, leader of the original Suicide Squad, which I covered a couple of their early tales. Or was that? See, actually, I guess that was supposed to be this Rick Flag. It's just, again, continuity's a little screwy, but his dad was a Rick Flag also, who very much had a mind of a duty comes first. And again, so I like the dialogue between Rick and Nightshade here, Eve, as they're talking about Rick and how... And see, he says how his dad took out the war wheel. Again, it's a little hokey, not a little hokey so much, but the continuity between the original stuff back in the early Brave and the Bold and the revamped stuff here in the 80s, it's a little thin. You got to watch how you read it, I guess. And between Eve and Rick, it gets a little heated. She's, saying that he passes guilt over surviving onto him, and he's walking the same path. And Rick's like, well, if I am, what business of yours or anyone else's? And he's like, you are our mission leader, and the odds are you'll take people with you and you go. And Rick's just like, no. If I was going to do that, I'd make sure I was alone. No one else would pay the price. And she asks a very good question. She's like, well, why does anyone have to pay a price? Why do you? And there's a silent panel here of him just kind of looking back over at him over his shoulder. Some things in life are worth more than your life. And she's like, the squad isn't one of them, Rick. The squad's all I got left, Eve. Excuse me, I've got a private mission to attend to. So again, Rick's very much of a mindset that there's something screwy going on in his head, and he won't talk with the appropriate people about it. And then here on page 11, we get to the cover scene, basically. We get Eve walking away from Rick, upset that Amanda's sending him on a mission in the state that he's in. And we come across June Moon, who used to be the Enchantress. And she's telling Eve that she wants her powers back. And she's like, June, I'd give it to you if I could, but the succubus is stuck in me now. And there's no way of getting rid of it. And June's like, there's one way. The way your brother got rid of the incubus. And she pulls her gun out to shoot her. And again, we got to security, where one of the guys on the security council is alerting Murph that one of the women from the missions has pulled a gun on another one. And Murph comes running down the corridor and he's like, I'm away, send backup. Please, God, let it not be Duchess. Because again, he doesn't know who Duchess is yet like Amanda does, but Duchess isn't one that you want to mess with. If she's in the mind to shoot somebody, he's going to try to stop her because that's his job, but Duchess isn't the person you want to get in front of. And then we get June shooting Eve. And as she does that, she comes to her sense. She's like, oh my God, what have I done? Eve! And then Murph shows up and he tells her to drop it. She turns and points her gun at him, and there's a shootout. Blam, blam, blam. And Murph shoots June, and she falls. And so he's calling security to get the medical people over there. As he's thinking, I hate this job. Because again, it's very much he's working with some of the worst of the worst, but some of the people in the prison, like June, normally is not that bad. Eve's a nice person. You got Rick, you got Bronze Tiger. There are some decent people here, but for the most part, he's working with some of the scumbags, so it's not a great place to work. And then we got to Amanda returning from her conversation with Tolliver. And again, here on the page 14, she's walking down the hall, and all of a sudden she gets with a pie right in her face. I like this. Just so the second panel, she's standing there with a pie in her face. Next panel over, the pie pan's dropped, and she's got like the cream and stuff falling off her face. She's like, someone's gonna pay a horrible price for this. And then we go into Flo, sitting there talking with economist, I believe it is. And they're just sitting there talking, and all of a sudden Amanda walks in. I want a towel, and then I want to see Boomerang Butt. Here. Immediately. And this economist gives her a rag. She's like, Boomerang did this? He take leave of his mind? It has to be. I didn't see the person who threw the pie, but Boomerang Butt's been itching to get back at me ever since we busted his Mirror Master scam, which was, I believe, the last issue. And then we see Boomerang walking into the room, and he's like, what's the ruckus? You're making me maggoty, I swear. And he stops. Half a mo. Someone out there call me? And he leans back on the hall, and all of a sudden he gets hit in the face with a pie. Splot! Oh, funny. Set me up for the gag, did you, Walla? Hell with y'all. Laugh at yourselves sick, you bunch of... And he storms off, pissed off, without finding out why Waller called him. And again, here at the top of page 16, the expressions of like, what the heck, on their face. It just amuses me. Great artwork here. And again, keep an eye on this pie issue with people getting hit in the face of the pie. This sets up a subplot that runs for, if I remember right, it runs for a little while in the book. With people getting hit faces of pie. So far we've had Waller and Boomerang both been hit in the face. So Waller's like, okay, so someone else. I'll do it later. Flo, what's the situation with Moon and Eden? And so we find out that when Murph shot June, it was just with mercy bullets, so she's okay. She's in with Dr. LeGrieve, this prison psych. Eve's down in OR being prepped for surgery. And Amanda calls up LeGrieve and wants to find out, so why did June, go crazy? She wanted to be rid of the power. And LeGrieve says, well, there's a difference between giving something and having it taken away. She snapped. Power is a powerful drug. She's going through withdrawals, and it's going to take time for her to understand what she's done. And so basically he's telling her that even though she didn't want the power to begin with, she wanted to get rid of it. Again, as he says, if she had a way to give it up at the time, she would have. But to have that power taken from her, again, it's like someone on drugs or any other addiction. When you don't have access to whatever you're addicted to, you're going to go through withdrawals, and that's what she's kind of going through. And then she gets cut over to medical with Dr. White. I guess it's Mary White. And Waller's like, how's it going down there? And she's like, oh, she's fair, but stubborn as hell. Won't let us pet her under until she's talked to you. So get your butt down here. And she goes down there, and Eve tells her that, she wanted to talk to Amanda. He's no good. She's going on a mission. And here on page 17, bottom of page 17, he's like, what the hell mission are you talking about? And just that look on her face like she's going to, kick some butt. Because, again, Rick said he's going on a mission, but apparently she didn't authorize it. And so Mary White, the doctor, says, well, that's enough. The girl's going to surgery. And again, Amanda, being Amanda, says, you know what? I'm not done here, doctor. And Dr. White's like, I told you, Amanda. When I told you when I took this job that I wasn't going to take no back talk, and that includes none of your shenanigans, little sister. Don't you little sister me, Mary. I hired you and I can fire you. And as Dr. White takes Eve away, he's like, don't you mind her, child. You're my patient. And I don't be having anyone badgering you. And Amanda's like, this is the last time I hire a family. So again, I like through the dialogue here, we find out that we found out about Amanda's husband and her children and the secret origins. They've talked about a little bit here and there. how a couple of her kids died, her husband died. We didn't find out about her other family. So we do find out that she has a sister. It appears to be an older sister. And like I said, I love this version of Amanda because she's an older lady. She's overweight. She's short. But she bullies her way through everything. When she wants something done, she gets it done. And here's her older sister. And just like siblings, her sister's not going to take none of Amanda's crap. This is the last time I hire a family. That's just great. I love the dialogue that both the dialogue from Ostrander and McDonald's artwork. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I just love this book. The dialogue between everybody and the artwork for the most part is fabulous. And then we get Amanda and Flo and Conmos contacting Chief Shavasky. I'm not sure I'm mispronouncing his name. We saw him a couple of issues back. And Amanda demands know, who gave him permission to take out a jet. And he's like, he don't need any. He's a bird colonel. Qualified for the plane. It's available. He gets it. Standard operating procedure. Find out he didn't file a flight plan. And she tells Flo to get identification on the plane. If it's on the ground, I want to know where. And she walks and we get a real close-up of her eye. And McDonald, I don't know if it's McDonald's choice to do this or if this is Ostrander's direction. But we get a real good close-up of her eye. And she's like, I've got a bad feeling about this. And then we cut to Washington, D.C., where we see Tolliver, I forgot his name almost, Tolliver talking with Cray on the phone, telling me, oh no, I talked to her today, everything will be fine by tomorrow. I need to see you now. No, not the office, someplace neutral. I know it sounds mysterious, but it's, that's necessary. It has to be about 11 p.m. And as he's talking to Tolliver as Tolliver's talking to Cray and telling him he needs to meet with him, he's pulling a gun out and looking at it. He's like, I'll pick you up outside the Lincoln Memorial. We need to go somewhere and talk right away. It's in the bag. And we get some thoughts where he says, it'd be easier if you listen to reason, but I know you, Senator, and this one to make sure so he's going to shoot Cray to keep him quiet because he knows that Senator Cray won't back down from his plans. And so as he's leaving, he's like thinking, I'm going to cut my losses. See about some other way of getting back at Waller. Not to be traced back to me, of course. And he opens the door, Flag standing there. And Tolliver's like, what are you doing? And Rick's like, protecting the squad. He pulls his gun out and points it at Tolliver. And Tolliver's like, no, wait, you haven't talked to Waller. Just blam, blam, blam. He falls to the ground bleeding. You can tell he's dead. His eyes are open. Like, goodbye, Tolliver. Cray's next. Then it'll all be over. And the squad will be safe. And as Rick walks out the door on the desk, we see a press release where it says that Senator Cray unmasked the government-sponsored metahuman villains. So I like the fact that Rick's, he does his duty, what he thinks is duty. He shoots our buddy here, and then he turns and walks out, really looking around, so he misses his notice. If you think about it, Tolliver was going to get rid of this notice and stop Cray from saying anything. But now that Flag has shot him and left him for dead, and this note sitting on his desk, it opens up all kinds of possibilities for next issue that, in fact, spoilers, a little behind the scenes. I actually had to reread the next issue after I finished this one because I was like so interested in the story. I'm like, I can't wait till next month. I'm going to read it right now. But like I said, in fact, these are the issues I started with. I think next issue was my first issue of Suicide Squad. And I came back, tracked all these other ones. So this is a really interesting time. This is when I started getting into Suicide Squad. Originally off the newsstand. I say newsstand. It was at a comic shop. Coppa Comics there in Merced, California. But again, this is a great issue. I loved the build up to this. The art is classic as always. Definitely can't recommend this enough. This is the part where I'd say that's enough for this issue, but there's more to talk about. This issue, as I mentioned, had a 14-page bonus book. It was called Deadly Perspective. It was written by Larry Ganneman. Penciler was Peter Krause. Inker Frederick Butler. Letter Helen Vesic. And the colors was Matt Webb. And again, as I said, this was bonus book number 10. As I talked about previously, the bonus books was a way to showcase promising up newcomers to the comic scene. And I'm not saying these people haven't done anything else, but I don't recognize any of these names offhand. So I don't know. Take that what you will. That's not commenting on the story at this point. That's just, I don't recognize any of these names from anything else I've read. So, anyways, the synopsis for this story. The Bronze Tiger is sent to stop a hired assassin named Nico from killing a political leader. He studies his opponent and fights off an attack by two killers Nico sent to test him. Eventually, the Bronze Tiger and Nico face one another face to face. Ben wins the fight and demands that Nico breaks his contract. Nico agrees, but he promises to take his revenge at some time in the future. Dun dun dun. Anywho, that's a synopsis. Now on to, my thoughts. We start off with what you would call the cover. These bonus books had a little cover on it. This one here says Bronze Tiger, has the creator's name on it. Bonus book number 10. And we see Bronze Tiger fighting looks like an Asian guy. Asian guy's got no shirt on, got like combat jeans, red wristbands, and his hair's kind of spiky, military looking, kind of. Got a big O on his face. And Bronze Tiger's not doing so good on this cover fight. He's getting kicked off a balcony from like an apartment building. Anyways, overall, like I say, it doesn't put Bronze Tiger in a good light, but it's a good book, or a good cover. If it was actually the cover of an actual book, I might pick it up. Moving on to the story itself. First, the next page we have here, it's called What's a DC Bonus Book? And it says you're holding a DC bonus book every month until further notice. We'll be adding an extra 16 pages to an ongoing DC title and filling in with the work of promising newcomers. You get a free story. We get a chance to work with people we feel will become important creators in a few years. Survey wins. Enjoy. And then we have bonus bios, and it gives a little bio about Larry Gannam, Peter Krause, and Fred Butler. Nothing really interesting. It just gives a little about their history. It's definitely worth reading, but so we start off the story itself, as I talked about. We see the Bronze Tiger. Someone's got him in a scope, it looks like. And all of a sudden he gets punched by this big redneck-looking guy. Behind him is a brother with a shaved head and a pipe in his hand. And again, so the story starts out with Bronze Tiger getting the hex knocked out of him. And then here in the bottom corner, we see the guy from the cover watching him through a telescope. And the story starts off with some narrative from the Asian guy that's watching him. And we find out that he hired these guys to attack Ben, aka Bronze Tiger. And I like this. He's watching him. His attackers are quite skilled, but they have their limits. I know I hired them. This man has been following me for days now. He was discreet, but I noticed. He showed promise, so I devised this test. I want so much for him to pass. I want so much for him to be worthy. And as he's saying this, or thinking this, as he's watching through his telescope, watching Ben get the heck beat out of him. And then the big, white guy picks Ben up and throws him over the roof. And the guy's like, but alas, a good man is hard to find. And then we get Bronze Tiger standing up in the garbage chute down here, the rubbish to the ground. I'm not dead, just in pain. Death would be more comfortable. And I'm going to say this as I start this story. I haven't talked much about Bronze Tiger. I think I've mentioned him in the past, but I really wish he would have been in the Suicide Squad movie. I wish he would show up on Arrow. I wish that they would actually use Bronze Tiger. We get a lot of these movies and shows changing the race of characters because they want more ethnic characters. The DC books have a good, I don't know about good, but they have a range of ethnic characters to begin with. Use some of them. Bronze Tiger is a great character, a great martial artist. His original costume you couldn't do on TV. The big tiger head looks too hokey, but this current costume he's got right now, it's a orangish bodysuit with a camouflage, like tiger-looking belt and loops and whatever. It's like big X across his chest and his gloves. Got a little face makeup on. I think Bronze Tiger were good in live action, either movies or TV. But what do I know? Anyway, so Bronze Tiger gets up and goes off to lick his wounds. Meanwhile, we get Mr. Asian Guy again, doing some more narrative. Again, he's in some green, what they're called, karate pants or whatever, shirtless, and he's beating up on the two guys that just took out Bronze Tiger. And he's there talking. I guess maybe it's like a journal or something, because it's not him saying it; it's thoughts. So he's going to mourn their good passing. He'll honor their spirits. He dispatched these men to kill the costume man. Yet I know he still lives. I have seen him since. These men, my prey, are not samurai. There are no samurai left on this earth. How I wish things were. And so he beats these guys until they're dead. He sits there after he's done. Off panel, we see the hand of the black guy and the feet of him shooting the white guy, as he just sits there in like the lotus position or whatever. His feet curled up and his hands up. And I think it's called the lotus position, if I'm not mistaken. And he talks about how he's a warrior, and he kills, but there's no real challenge anymore. That's what he's looking for. And he thought Ben might be the challenge he needs. And I like this here at the top of the page for the story. We're watching this Asian guy, which we haven't got his name yet, though I guess I've already blown that by the synopsis. Nico. But behind Nico's shoulder, out his window, we see a figure in the shadows on the roof, the moon behind him. And I like this next three panels here. We get a closer and closer shot until we see a darkened Bronze Tiger sitting there just watching Nico as he sits there in the lotus position. And then we cut back to Bronze Tiger talking, or actually at this point he's Ben Turner, because he's in street clothes, talking with Amanda Waller. And she's giving him some photos of a guy called Holy Santiago. And she says that he's a dead man. Here's the reason why. And then she shows a picture of our Asian guys from earlier. And she says, this is Nico. Not a good picture, but the best we have. When Ben says he's an assassin, she's like, the best in the world. No offense. Because again, Ben used to work for the League of Assassins, if I'm not mistaken, until he joined the side of the Angels. And so Ben's like, what, you mean to stop him? Because she says that Nico's been hired to kill the Santiago guy. And here, so she gives Ben his mission, tells him that there's a second man that he's going to kill, a guy called DeMarco, who's a drug kingpin for 11 years. And she tells him that they want Nico to take DeMarco out, but stop him before he gets to Santiago. And Ben's like, quite a double standard. I can live with you, can. And so, and again, this one thing I like about Amanda. A lot of people picture Amanda. In fact, that's what they did in the Suicide Squad movie, which I've complained about before, and I'll probably complain about again. They put her in the role of kind of a villain. I mean, and again, spoilers for the Suicide Squad movie, but I've talked about this, and it's been out for a year or so spoilers again. They had her kill her support staff, which to me puts her in a villainous role, which isn't Amanda. She will kill people if need be, but she's not going to kill her support staff because they're in the wrong place at the wrong time. Or at least I don't think so. I've seen nothing in the comic rereading it at this point that would make me think that. So, I don't know. I like this Amanda. She's firm. She's tough. She does what needs to be done. She could be borderline villainish. She does things for the right reasons, maybe the wrong way, but she's not a villain. Like I say, she doesn't mind this, drug dealer being killed, but she wants to save the guy that's considered a good guy. And like the Ben's like, so you want me to incapacitate him? She's like, I'd like you to kill him. I'll sell for incapacitation. And Ben's like, okay. And then we cut back to that was a flashback. Again, you don't really anything that. Actually, I guess you do. I didn't pay attention to that, but well, just one of them is. I'm talking out loud to myself, to you guys. So again, this was a flashback, but we don't really get that. And again, I started to change my mind because at one point in the comics, a lot of times in flashbacks, they would round the panels. And I went back to page 5 and looked. The last panel is rounded, but everything else is squared. So there's no real, except for maybe that little rounded corners to let you know that we're going back to present time. But anyway, so we see Ben again watching Nico from the window, and Ben's just doing some thoughts here to himself about how he's a samurai. And again, Ben, if you don't know, aren't familiar with him, he's a very smart guy. He's a skilled fighter, skilled killer, if you will. And so Ben's just thinking about how best to get him. And then here on page 7, we see, what was his name, DeMarco on a boat fishing. And as he's fishing, his line gets cut. Hey, who the hell? And Nico comes up out of the water and shoots him with a spear gun and just kills him right away. And the one I'm going to call a complaint, I guess, a question I have, is that as DeMarco's reeling that fish in, he's sitting there, talking to himself. The past 4 hours I've been playing him, reeling him in, letting him run, and reeling him in again. And after Nico comes up out of the water and shoots, as he shoots him with the spear gun, he's like, reeling him in, letting him run. He's all mine. Basically saying the same thing that DeMarco said. I don't know if he was underwater. How did he hear this? How did he know DeMarco was saying this? And again, it's not a big issue, but it is just a little minor nitpick. And then we get Bronze Tiger again outside of the building, and he gets a little more. We get a little narrative as he's thinking about DeMarco's boat was being 12 miles offshore with on a day with limited visibility. So he tells us that basically Nico had to swim at least 7 miles underwater to make that hit. 7 miles out, 7 miles back. So he's thinking Nico should be tired and it should give him a little bit of an advantage at this point. And again, like here at the bottom of page 8, he comes sneaking in the window and all of a sudden the lights turn on. He turns like, oh, crap. And Nico's surprised. And again, they have a little conversation. Nico's, does the villainous monologue. I can't tell you how happy I am to see you. For a moment, I thought you actually died last night. You've got a masterful act, I must say. Had to hurt. You handle pain so well. And they say he noticed him on the roof. And he suspects that he saw him take care of DeMarco also. He's like, who are you? Who do you serve? He's like, call me Bronze Tiger. I serve those who wish Jules Santiago long life. Santiago's fate is sealed. I've accepted his contract. To break the contract, you have to break me. And so again, they do a little fighting. And as they're fighting, Nico's thinking about how good Ben is. Because as I said earlier, he wants Ben to be a good fighter because he hasn't had a good fight in a long time. So not only matter is he willing to fight Ben, he kills people, but he doesn't want the easy kill. He wants to be not entertained, but to be challenged, which he hasn't done in a while. And as he's thinking, he's facing a skill challenge. Try that again, kids. He says he's facing a skilled challenger. Wow, hard to get that out. Meanwhile, we get Ben's like, it always comes down to this. Showdown, winner takes all. Sometimes I wonder why we even bother strategy. Again, because a lot of times, especially in superhero comics, it comes down to the fight, punch, punch. And you have to wonder how much of that Ben's thinking is commentary on comics in general. Because a lot of time comics, the plot of stories, the good guys try to think of a way to stop the bad guys, and as Ben says, it usually comes down to fisticuffs. So it's an interesting thought. Is he just Ben saying this, or is this the writer's thought he's putting through Ben? And then here on page 10, they're fighting on the roof, right on the roof with the fire escape, and Nico pulls one of the rusty bars out, and he says, the fire escape railing is rusty enough, fatigued enough for me to do this. And he clocks Bronze Tiger upside the head with the pipe, the pole. And Ben's like thinking, okay, Batman beat me twice. Richard Dragon held his own with me a few times. And then, of course, there's Nico. I think my saying just dropped down to number 4. So I love the commentary running through Ben's mind as he's fighting this unknown challenger. Or an unknown guy. Not unknown. Ben knows him, of course, but we, as the comic book readers, is our first time seeing him. But then apparently gets tired of the fight because he pulls a gun out to shoot Bronze Tiger, and he's like, Bronze Tiger, you have given me more pleasure tonight than anyone I've ever fought. You're a most honorable soul. I respect for you. So make your death as swift as possible. And then Bronze Tiger, again, not being an actual slouch, he kicks Nico in the arm, makes him miss with the gun. And then he picks up the gun. He's like, I hate them, but I don't mind using them. He's like, your life is mine. And Nico's like, end it. It's your right. and he says he wants to trade it. Nico's life for the life of Jules Santiago. And again, he knows from the way Nico's been talking, he's a samurai. He believes in the samurai way. So he basically uses the fact that he could have killed him right now to trade for the life of Jules Santiago. And he's like, using my samurai code of honor against me, are you? And he's like, you will in no way cause harm to Jules Santiago, even indirectly. And then so Bronze Tiger tosses the gun over the side and leaves. And he's like, I leave you on your honor. Survive if you can. And he's like, I will honor my oath, though the men I contracted with will seek their revenge against me. But our duel is not over. We will meet again. And our fight will be more wonderful because I will be the victor. I shall not rest until I dance on your grave. And Bronze Tiger's he's like, join the club. I love the dialogue there, the closing dialogue. It's very, very comic booky. He's monologuing his heart out. Overall, I thought the artwork was pretty good on it. The story was decent. Maybe not fantastic, but it was a good story. And while I was going over this, I looked up the writer, Larry Gedham. And yeah, there's a reason I don't recognize him. According to Mike's Amazing World of Comics at DC Indexes, stutter that one out. DCindexes.com, Larry's got 2 credits. One for this story here, and then a Dragonlance issue 21 he wrote in 1990, which came out 2 years after this story. So Larry Gedham didn't really do much in comics. Again, we look at Peter Klaus, see what he's done. Peter Klaus has done a bit more. He's done some Grimjack, Sable, Star Trek The Next Generation, Adventures of Superboy, an issue of Superman, and Adventures of Superman. Don't recognize it offhand. Issue 69 Superman, and 492 of... That was during the Triangle era. Huh. Okay, yeah, Peter Krause. So I have seen some of Peter Krause's artwork in some Superman stories. He also did the Metropolis SCU 4-issue miniseries. Oh, okay. And he also did the Power Shazam series from 1995, written by Jerry the Extraordinary Ordway. Okay, so yeah, so I am familiar with this artist after all, and he's actually a really good artist. As I enjoyed this story here, but looking at it, he did the Power Shazam series, 41 issues it looks like. That was really good. So yeah, actually, the writer didn't do anything really, but the penciler went on to do some good work. Right on. And the inker finally, Frederick Butler. He did this story, he did a Wonder Woman story, Secret Origins 40 of Congarilla, and then Spectre issue 30. So he's only done a couple other books. He hasn't done much in the industry either. So out of these 3 newcomers, the only one that really did anything or kept going on was the penciler. It was good. He did a good job. And then looking at, I keep looking while I'm here, the letterer Helen Vasek. Again, she's new on the scene. Again, she did some New Talent Showcase in the 80s, 84. 14 issues of New Talent Showcase. So actually, she wasn't brand new. She's done quite a bit of things before this. This is quite down on her list. So she's not new to the comic world. She's been around as a letterer. And the colorist, Matt Webb, again, he's done some stuff. His first issue was Power of the Atom number 4, which came out in 88, which eventually I will be talking about over on my Head Speaks podcast at some point. He did an issue of The Flash. This was his 3rd work for DC. He did some Detective Comics, Wonder Woman, Gamma Raiders, some D&D stuff. He did a lot of D&D books, it looks like. He worked on John Byrne's X-Men. So again, he's not a slouch either. He's got quite a bit of work. According to Mike, the last thing he's got listed for the guy is 2012. He did X Factor 230. He did a lot of work for DC and Marvel over the years. So like I say, the penciler went on to do some good stuff. The letterer had already been in the business, and the colorist had started the business already and went on to do a lot of stuff also. So I don't know about Larry, the writer, and the pencil or inker, why they didn't continue. But overall, I thought this was a good story. It was a good little bonus book, good little 14-page story. Spotlighted the seldom used, often overlooked Bronze Tiger. But you know what? That's going to be it. Again, sorry for the delays between episodes. I'm working, and I've been saying that, but I'm working on trying to get that resolved. Thank you for those that are bared with me and are still with me. I appreciate you listening. Leave me some feedback. Send me an email. What do you guys think about this episode? What do you guys think about this book, these writers, the bonus book? Let me know. If you guys have read this, give me your thoughts. You can either email me at taskforcex@headspeaks.com. You can go to the website, taskforcex.headspeaks.com, or go to the Facebook page, look for Task Force X on Facebook, and leave me a message. Let me know what you guys think. Anyways, until next month, when we're going to be covering... What are we covering next month? Looking at my schedule, next month in Task Force X33, we should be covering Checkmate number... Actually, according to my notes here, we got a double dose of Checkmate next time. Oh, okay. I'd look at the title of the episode. Next month, The Invasion hits Checkmate. The Invasion was a crossover series from DC Comics. I talked about it a little bit over on my Starman Manhunter Adventure Hour podcast. I covered that for 3 months. I covered the Invasion main series and the Starman Manhunter, Flash, and a Firestorm book. A couple of the books that tied directly into it and starred by characters. Power of the Atom number 9. So I spent 3 months over there. Also over on the Fire and Water podcast network. Cisco and Boss have an entire podcast devoted to Invasion, so definitely check them out. In fact, I may slip a promo of them either here or probably next time. Anyways, I've talked enough for today. Just haven't talked to you guys in a while, so I wanted to get this out there. Again, I hope you guys had a happy holidays, and we'll see you soon. Until next time, Squadmates, dismissed. Thank you for listening to another great episode of Task Force X. I can also be found rambling on my main headcast of Head Speaks, where I rant and rave about movies, comics, geek stuff, and whatever is bugging me.
Mate, you just out-crazied the Joker.
Well, I tried, Boomer Butt. Anyways, my home on the internet is at headspeaks.com. HEADSPEAKS.com. Links to my blog, which contain follow-up information to this and every headcast, can be found there. Both Task Force X and Headspeaks are on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, and at headspeaks.com under Headcasts. Please feel free to email me any questions, comments, or concerns to taskforcex@headspeaks.com. And if you want to record a message, you can send it to me at taskforcex@headspeaks.com, and I'll play it on the air. I'm also on Facebook at Task Force X, and also on Google+, you can look for Task Force X under People and Pages. All titles and characters discussed are owned and copyrighted by DC Comics. I claim no ownership to the Suicide Squad, Checkmate, or Task Force X. I'm just a big fan wanting to spread the Task Force X love with everyone else. DC Comics can be found on the web at dccomics.com. Be sure to visit your local comic shop and look for Suicide Squad and Checkmate Comics. And while you're there, see what else they have that may interest you.
Mother...
Well, make sure you join us here next time for another fun-filled headcast from your friendly neighborhood Brotherhead. In the meantime, I'll see you in the funny pages.
Yippee!